O'Reilly. His time at Fox could be coming to an end after new harassment claims emerged. The latest is a woman claiming she was sexually and racially harassed by O'Reilly, who called her hot chocolate. But
Who says things like that?
Bill O'Reilly. Allegedly.
But they never either good-looking or witty, these types.
Yeah,
Go
hot
on.
chocolate.
Well, he could have called her burnt toast. I mean, he was trying. You know, he was trying to be, you know.
Then that would have been offensive
But,
on so many levels.
Yeah, you know, but I just, you know, it just, I don't know. If you need game, this is an indication of it.
Yeah.
If you call somebody, hey, hot chocolate, it's kind of like, no.
Yeah, not gonna work.
Not gonna happen. But given who's in the White House, is it surprised you that this behavior's gotten a pass? Because remember, O'Reilly's ratings went up after the last allegations.
I actually think there are men in a lot of places right now specifically getting a little nervous because I think this has gone on for years. And as we talked when Gretchen Carlson was here, she asked each one of us, have you ever experienced this? And I think everyone has to a certain level experienced it. But I think oftentimes you just think it's part of the environment as a woman. So you just push through.
I think he can always get a job in the Grabber-in-Chief's administration. I mean, there's always room for some other harasser in Trump's administration.
Remember, Trump did praise O'Reilly.
Trump said, I don't think O'Reilly did anything wrong. But what's interesting to me and what's disturbing is that Fox News knew that there were settlements with women for sexual harassment. I think Bill O'Reilly paid out about $13 million in settlements. And they renewed, Fox did, and Bill, and they renewed his contract despite
Of course they did, because it's all about money. And if you're not caught and no one's showing you anything, then they're going to keep doubling down where the money is.
Yeah, but when there's only 2 advertisers, the money ain't exactly flowing in.
Not gonna come. Because
He's got 2 left. He's got 2 left.
Isn't it the very definition of a hostile work environment? I mean, the culture seems to have come all the way from the top. You get rid of Roger Ailes, well, that is not cleaning house when you have the vestiges of that sexual harassment culture still there.
This latest claim, she said he would never talk to her, not even hello, except to grunt at her like a wild boar. And
This
then
is
he
hot
would.
chocolate?
This is hot chocolate. He would leer at her. He would leer at her, and he would always do this when no one else was around and she was scared.
Yeah.
She'd look at her cleavage, her legs, and call her hot chocolate.
Now, you wonder if he's trying to scare her or get laid. Which is it, Bill? Which is it?
I have to say this. We have a must-do. Bill O'Reilly, of course, has denied these allegations, and his attorney, Mark Kasowitz, says this most recent allegation, the hot chocolate allegation, it is outrageous that an allegation from an anonymous person about something that purportedly happened almost a decade ago is being treated as fact, especially where there is obviously an orchestrated campaign by activists and lawyers to destroy Mr. O'Reilly.
This woman is not accepting money. Sorry. Just so you know, for the record, hot chocolate is not taking money.
She doesn't want to be on television.
No, it's okay.
She has no motivation.
I mean, there's a PR disaster going on over at Fox News right now. I mean, you have to be blind not to see it. You have Roger Ailes. Of course, there was a consequence for him. Now you have Bill O'Reilly. And you have many females who work there that the Murdochs, if they're smart, need to step up and protect. Because those people work at a place that has gotten a reputation now that if you harass someone, it goes on for a long time, potentially. It takes very courageous women to step up and stand up to that. So they have a responsibility to those women that are employed there right now to say that if we know that something's going on and if there's a record of it, of allegations, and people are coming out, and this is negatively affecting not only the brand and the money, but the safety and security of that work environment for female employees.
The bottom line is the law and money. And Rupert Murdoch, I was reading, you probably just read it, that he's trying to do a deal with Sky Television, which is an international, I see it when you ever go to Europe, Sky is like CNN, and he's trying to get that. And they're not going to go along with this, I don't think. So it's real, his days are numbered. Bill is going to be toast. What'd you call it?
Burnt toast.
Burnt toast. That's you. That's you, Bill.
Yeah.
must get rid of him. They must do it.
I actually do believe, though, that the Murdoch kids who do genuinely care about a lot of these issues and the branding of the network and do want to create an environment where women, employees and viewers, lots of women watch Fox News
why
who are
did they
looking
renew
at this.
his contract?
I don't know. I don't know why they did that, but I
the
think that what
question.
you see right now going on,
Well,
there
because
is
no one
accountability.
had bailed yet.
Yeah, and the New York
know.
Times broke the story.
You know, so it just, you know, look, we see this in all kinds of places. This is not a new story. This has just gotten the most attention.
Right.
So if you want to protect women, when they're telling you this is going on, pay attention.
Yes.
Otherwise, you know, it's going to come up. And as you're seeing, people are saying, you know, I don't want my company associated with this because I have women in my company. So unless you're going to make a shift,
You
know,
also
they're
have,
gonna
though,
do it.
there, you have women on network right now, like Julie Rodzinski, who I know very well, who is suing the network, who is making these charges, and she's on air right now at that network. So if you're, you know, if you have a responsibility to those people, is what I'm saying. It can't all be about money, and
Well,
it
the
can't
law
all be
requires
about.
it. You cannot have sexual harassment running rampant within
That's
your
true.
organization.
That's true, but
But
law,
they do.
but
But they
law
do.
But they have.
aside, you should be able to look for some humanity in these organizations still, and you
honey.
should. I'm sorry. That
Yeah,
may
you
be,
should. Yeah,
that may
and
be
we
naive,
should,
but you
and
should
we
be
should
able
all,
to.
we should all like look for all kinds of great stuff everywhere. But the realities are, here it is. It's been there for over 20 years, and y'all let it happen. So we see it. People have now busted you. You have to make a choice. And this is not, you know, not everybody's gotten away with everything, you know, because Billy Bush,
Yeah.
who just posted his plea for a job, a comeback, he posted it online. Take a look.
Look at me. I'm Billy B. Trying to get back on TV. My hair's long and flat, and it makes me look fat. And I can't be. I'm Billy B.
So why is the person who
Sad.
made, well, yeah, because he's, you know, he's been thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
You know, now the
Literally.
guy who,
He was
the
on
guy,
the bus, now he's under it.
yes. So the man who had these conversations with Billy is now in the White House.
Yes.
And Billy is trying to get a job. So I don't, I'm supposed to say he got thrown under the Access Hollywood bus.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
I mean, is there something wrong here?
There is something
Life is not fair. It's
The
what
selective outrage
Yeah.
that we see as a country. People were outraged so much that they
Yeah.
fire Billy Bush. Bill O'Reilly keeps his job, and
So
the president
far.
of the United States.
What Billy Bush said, though, was still not okay. Just
What did he
because,
say?
of course,
Remind us.
after. Oh.
He was
Remind
co-signing.
us.
Well, he did say, he said he egged him on in the bus, and then after
Yeah.
knowing all that,
Right.
and you could argue at that point you felt uncomfortable speaking up, but then he then went on to say, go ahead and hug
Yeah.
Mr. Trump. It was uncomfortable to watch, so I don't, even though Trump should be punished too,
But
Billy Bush has got to be accountable for what he did.
But what you're saying is absolutely true.
Selective
If you're
outrage.
pissed at one,
Yes.
you got to be pissed at
I'm
everybody,
pissed at
and well, you got to be pissed at all of it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's
there
not
should
just one. It can't just be selective.
Right.
You know, because Billy was the easiest one to say, okay, we got you.
Yeah.
And everybody said, oh, good, yeah.
Well, look at Brian Williams, for example. Brian Williams was caught lying up the wazoo, and now he's an anchor on MSNBC,
Yeah,
making a lot
same
of money.
network.
You know, and the Clinton and Monica Lewinsky situation, he sort of got away scot-free, and
No,
she
he
didn't.
I'm sorry, he
got
didn't
impeached.
get. No, he got
Well,
impeached.
oh yeah, but he still was elected again, and he was president again.
Yeah.
And
But
everybody says he was a wonderful president,
It is interesting
and
what
she
you're
can't
saying,
get
though.
arrested.
I find it
He
fascinating.
was a wonderful president. Listen,
Yeah.
you know what?
I'm just saying.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you pay your dues and you get caught and they take you to task, okay. You can't say we're all for women. That's why it's so hard to hear. You know, I'm for women. I'm looking out for women. When you then sit across from other people who are listening to you talk, and you say, "I don't think he did anything wrong. I think it was just locker room talk." That's not just locker room talk. It just wasn't.
But
and
he
so
convinced a lot of people that it was.
A lot.
He sure
convinced
did.
Also, though, Monica Lewinsky was toward the end of his term, and Bill Clinton was held accountable. What he did was horrific, but he was impeached. I think the argument here is that Trump, these things were revealed about him, and it didn't matter to people anyway, and they knew it in advance.
Yeah, that's
Clinton,
the whole thing.
Listen,
Yeah.
I love Bill Clinton because
No,
I
I know
love
you
his
do.
politics.
We're go-
But they threw her under the desk, okay?
Which one?
He was married, and she knew it. We'll be
Okay.
right back.
She's a bad
No comment from the White House yet, but China is defending Ivanka Trump for winning full monopoly rights to sell her brand in China on the very same day that the Chinese president and his wife had dinner at Mar-a-Lago.
What a coincidence.
A spokesperson in the Chinese Foreign Ministry claims everything was handled properly. This does not sound like a conflict of interest to anybody.
You know, I felt very strongly about this from the very beginning. Y'all know this. And it's because Ivanka Trump is always cast as this voice of reason within the administration and this moderating influence on her father, when now we really need to understand that she suffers from the very same conflict of interest that her father suffers from.
But it
The
doesn't-
very same
they
one.
they don't have to mutually exist. She can still be a voice of reason and moderate and still have problems. I don't think it takes away everything.
I think it does, and let me try to explain it. The reason that it does is because when you are a public servant, when you are a servant of the people, you must put their interests first.
That's right.
It is very difficult to be a public servant to the people of the United States and advise the President of the United States when you have your personal financial interest at stake.
That's exactly why it's not allowed.
I have a massive problem with the conflict of interest. I'm not saying any of that is okay, because the day Kellyanne Conway gave the free commercial,
Oh, yeah.
Ivanka's merchandise on a place called Lyst actually jumped 10,700%.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I'm just saying it's not black and white. It's not, she shouldn't be there for conflict of interest, but it doesn't mean she's not a moderate voice of reason.
Well,
She
but
can be
here's-
those things.
but here's
She and her
the
husband
bigger
are worth
problem.
$750,000.
No.
$750 million,
Okay.
which is $750 million, just in FYI.
Well, that's almost what he lost when he, right?
But
Didn't
why
he
not-
lose $1 billion?
But when you have that much money, why not take the next few years off from making money? What is this about? This money, money, money.
Well, and that is why, you know, I remember very well when
I don't understand why everybody is so surprised. You know, he got his stuff from China 2 days after
Yes.
he was inaugurated.
His trademarks.
His trademarks came to him. So the reason nobody's questioning is because he's doing it, they're doing it.
Yeah.
The name Trump. I mean, look, there's a hotel across the street from the damn White House.
Yeah.
And
The
there's-
Trump, I mean, and foreign dignitaries are staying there. So if Ivanka is not, you know, it's an issue, but it doesn't seem to be an issue to the American people.
I think also was a Trump Tower, or whatever they call it, a palace in Istanbul.
Yes.
That he even said a couple of years ago that is a conflict of interest before he was president. And isn't that what the Emoluments Clause is about?
Yes.
Doing business with foreign
You're
governments.
not supposed to do it. I remember when you know.
By the way.
Let me read
the statement.
Read it.
I'm just nuts over this issue. But you can tell. Ivanka's attorney, Jamie Gorelick, has said Ivanka will not weigh in on business strategy, marketing issues, or the commercial terms of agreements. She has retained authority to direct the trustees to terminate agreements that she determines create a conflict of interest.
She'll still be making, but she'll be making money.
I
in the
agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you on the conflicts of interest, but I do think there are people, to get to your point, I do think there are people who feel that on issues of LGBT rights, on issues of maternity leave, that they're glad she's in the room. They still have a problem with this, but they're speaking from a policy perspective and
should
stating.
not be in that
I agree.
group.
She should give up her business.
You know what?
No.
She should
We'll
give up her
go.
business.
We'll be right back.
Too low. Our next guest is the
strongest voice of opposition in D.C., who is speaking for a whole lot of people right now. Please welcome to the table senior senator from Massachusetts and author of the new book, This Fight is Our Fight, Elizabeth Warren.
It's great to be at the table.
It's so good to have you here. We have to start with a curveball question.
Okay,
now.
I'm ready.
Gotta start heavy. Trump is in now for 90 days.
Oh, God, is that all?
90 days.
I know. It seems like 90 Isn't it? I know. It's like dog years or something.
He's done a lot of stuff in 90 days. What has he done right so far?
Anything?
No, actually, I take that question very seriously because, look, obviously, I fought hard to try to get Hillary elected. I did not want to see Donald Trump as president. But he promised he was going to be out there for working people. And, you know, it's not the what he says, it's not the tweets. I just keep watching what he's actually doing. And so in 90 days, he signed off on a law that makes it easier for employers to steal their employees' wages. Yep. He's signed off on a law that makes it easier for companies that kill or maim their employees to keep it hidden. He's signed off to make it easier for investment advisors to cheat pensioners and retirees. And to me, Trump Care was like the whole thing in one microcosm when he said, hey, I'm all in for a plan to knock 24 million people off their health care coverage, raise the cost for a lot of middle-class families so that we can produce a tax cut for a handful of millionaires and billionaires. So, look, I wish he were out there working for middle-class families. I really do, for working families, for the working poor. But what he's doing is delivering one gut punch after another, and he needs to be told.
All right, then I'm going to ask a follow-up to that. Because I'd like to know, given that information that you just put out there, why are these Trump supporters still supporting him? What is your take on that?
So, look, I think
they're getting nothing.
I think there are probably a lot of reasons, but I think part of it is we have a responsibility here, too. Trump, to me, is like, do you see the movie Up?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Sure.
Do you remember the dog who used to yell, squirrel? And then everybody go, right? He is the master of distraction. He is the master of don't look at what I'm doing. Look at whatever else is going on. And boy, he's good at it. We have to reach a point now where this is no longer a campaign. This is real life. He is the president of the United States. We got to stay focused, and we can't shoot at everything that moves. We got to stay focused on what he actually does. Until everybody in America knows what he does, then make your decision about whether you're for him or whether you think you need to fight back.
Now, Senator, you've spoken pretty candidly about how your husband in 2016 discouraged you not to run. And now that we have a President Trump in the White House, do you regret that decision?
So, look.
I know I regret it.
Look, we all have a lot of regrets, but my biggest regret is that Donald Trump is president of the United States,
right.
period.
That's it.
And that is where we are. That is where we are today. So the question is not woulda, coulda, shoulda. The question is, what are we going to do today and tomorrow and the next day and the next week and the next month? And I know we'll talk more about the book, but I'll tell you, that is the reason I wrote this book, and that's why the title of this book is This Fight is Our Fight, because it tells the story about what happened, but most of all, it sounds the alarm and says, here's how you can get in. Make this fight your fight, because ultimately, Democrats don't have the votes in the House. We don't have the votes in the Senate. It's going to take the people getting engaged to hold Donald Trump accountable.
A new book that was out yesterday reveals that Bernie Sanders refused to say I'm with her during one of the campaign commercials, and it ended up not running. And I know some criticism was directed your way as well, that you and Bernie kind of offered your support late in the game. I know you said it's not a woulda, coulda, shoulda, but sometimes you think you something could have been different if you guys had jumped in and helped earlier?
I don't actually understand that. We had a real primary going on in the Democratic Party. We had people on both sides. And Bernie offered a vision. Hillary offered a somewhat different vision. They gave their different arguments for it. And to take Bernie out of that race early, are you kidding me? Bernie has shown where the progressive energy of this party is.
Also, he was connecting to the voter.
You bet.
Very much.
You bet.
Yes.
And look, once it was clear how that primary was going to be resolved, I got in and I busted my tail to try to help her get elected, and I wish it had worked. Dang, I wish it had worked.
Because you and Bernie Sanders, to me, I'm a conservative, but I admire you both because you're leaders on the left, and I think that you do what Hillary Clinton didn't do and what a lot of Democrats have failed to do recently, which is outreach. Donald Trump won in large part because a lot of those voters in the center of the country felt heard, and I'm wondering if the Democratic Party has come together and addressed that issue of there was a problem last time around. A lot of working class citizens didn't feel heard. A lot of people's health insurance was going up and solutions weren't being offered. They wanted their taxes lowered. Are you addressing that now?
So, you know,
within the party.
Right. And I think the answer is that, yes, that we are working to make clearer what our values are, what we get up and fight for every day. That's all I know to do.
And communicate it. That's the key.
We got to be in the fight. You can't lay down and die.
Yeah.
The second part is you can't shoot at everything that moves because it's not going to be effective. But the third part has got to be that we get out there and talk about our values. For me, and like I said, it's something I talk about a lot in the book. For me, my values are about creating opportunity. Not just for some of our kids, but for all of our kids. That this is part of what makes America special. And we've got to get out there and talk about that and make it real.
So, you know, you guys are in Washington, and you see what's happening. And do you connect to the other women on the other side and say, here are the things we think we should be fighting for? Because I saw that 2 Republican women said we cannot endorse Betsy DeVos to do this.
Right.
And the pressure from the other side, from their own party, was such that they ended up having to acquiesce. Do you think that it would be possible for ideology to be taken out of the equation and the people inserted so that what's good for the people works for both sides of the aisle, or is that not possible anymore?
No, it is possible. In fact, we actually do some of it. Now, I don't want to overstate here, but this is a little known secret, or maybe a well-known secret. We have women's dinner, and we don't invite those other guys. So the difference is not who's a Democrat and who's a Republican. The difference is the girls are getting together. And when we do, now we really try to make this not about politics as politics, but that's when you get a chance that you do get to talk about your values.
Right.
And you do get to talk about kind of how you try to be there for each other. And I have to say, I really admire Susan Collins. Truly stood up on
She's
the
a great
question
woman.
of Betsy DeVos. She very much is. And Lisa Murkowski, man, she waded into that and said, look, I cannot vote for a Secretary of Education who does not believe in public education. God bless, right? So we're there.
So is the key to try to get more? Is the key to try to get more women involved?
How about get more women in the Senate? That's what we need.
All right, we're going to come back with more. We'll be right back with more with Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Welcome back. So we're back with Senator Elizabeth Warren. And so basically, what is going on with Korea? Because Kim Jong-il do, who I call Kim Jong Yum Yum.
Yum yum. We call him Yum Yum here.
They make only armament. They just make things, bombs and stuff. What should be happening, and why isn't it happening?
Okay. So we know that he is an unstable man who has nuclear weapons.
You're talking about Trump now.
About to deal with an unstable man who has nuclear weapons. What could possibly go wrong? But this is a country that is supported by China. That is the only way that this dictatorship stays propped up. And so the way we're going to get a solution here is that we got to deal with the Chinese government, and we've got to find a way for the Chinese government to deal with Korea so that we can de-escalate what's happening in that part of the world. That really is our only chance in the area. And that's why it is that these other lines and webs with China are really so disturbing.
Yes.
And so the reason we talk about conflict of interest, and I thought the point you made, Sonny, about conflict of interest was just right on the mark. You never want to wonder if the leader on your side is working for the country or just working for himself. You just never.
Question from day one.
But this is a place and throughout. And that's why conflicts of interest matter so much. That's why you need people who say, when I've taken the presidency, when I've taken a high government job, it all goes into a blind trust. I can't see it. I don't know what I'm helping. That's what it's got to be.
But how is he getting away with it then?
Well, right now he's getting away with it because he just struts through the White House and says, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and,
like a dictator.
And nobody calls
he's
him.
put in place who should be going, hey, time out. They're not going to do it. This is why you want to have a difference in who's in, who's governing. Because if it's all one group, you're bent over.
I've got to talk about your book because I read it and it is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
It is fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And it's called The Fight. This Fight is Our Fight. Please tell us about it, in particular, the story of Kai and the middle class. That struck me as significant.
So this is a book that tries to tell the story about what we did right, how and when we started building a great middle class and working class, and then how starting in the 1980s with trickle-down economics and tax cuts for those at the top and deregulation, we really started taking the legs out from underneath working families. But what it also is about at its heart is about opportunity. So I'm a kid, my parents, we struggled a lot. My daddy ended up as a maintenance man. My mom worked a minimum wage job at Sears. I wanted to go to college, and there was no money for college. The way I finally made it through is I graduated from a commuter college that cost $50 a semester. And it opened a door for me. And from there, I ended up as a Harvard professor and a United States Senator. I believe in what opportunity. All the way. All the way. And I talk about this story. I talk about it in the book. And I contrast it with Kai, who, much like me, her folks hadn't gone to college. She heads off, and she has a great plan. She's going to work in the computer field. She tries to pick out a good college. She gets her feet tangled up in a for-profit college that rips her off. She ends up $100,000 in student loan debt and no diploma. She is 27 years old. She's waitressing. Her future has been crushed. And here's the part that really twists the knife. The United States government is making a profit off her student loans. That is an America that is not investing in opportunity, and we got to make changes.
Thank you to Elizabeth Warren. Members of the audience, you know what's coming? You want the book? You're all getting the book. Everybody gets the book. You all get the book. We'll be right back. So, our next guest is a Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, photographer, filmmaker, and best-selling author of the new book, Touch the Earth, who also is one of the most fabulous people I know. And I'm just going to introduce him. Please welcome the fabulous Julian Lennon. So, Jules, you've always been at the top when it comes to environmental issues, and we're in an administration that really doesn't care about environmental issues. And you've made a number of documentaries on the subject. What do you think is going on here?
Well, in short, I think any administration that opts for profit over planet or profit over people is, you know, just not right.
It's actually corrupt.
It's as simple as that.
Now, your new book is Touch the Earth, and it's for kids.
Yeah.
It's a children's book. What inspired you to write a book for kids like this?
Well, as some of you know, many of you know, I would hope, that, you know, I've written songs about environmental and humanitarian issues over the years, and made documentaries too. And a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, Bart Davis, who's the co-writer of this book, we were sitting down talking about a biography. And as he was looking through all the work that I'd done, he said, well, have you ever done anything for kids? And I said, well, you know, some animated series, maybe the odd CD for charity, but nothing from here, from me, you know. So he said, what about a kid's book? And I said, well, as long as we can incorporate all that what I do represents and that I have a passion for, and put it in a book, a beautiful book that tells a beautiful story with beautiful illustrations, that picture book that harkens back to the old days of sitting with your mother or your grandmother at nap time or bedtime, reading through and going on an adventure. But also something that had an educational element to it, because I also found that, you know, at this age, especially 3 to 6, is really the sort of why age, where kids are.
A lot of whys.
Why are the oceans polluted? Why is the, you know? So this is about engaging them into asking those questions, into moving, and also as a reminder for the parents too that have forgotten along the way.
And it's a personal story for you too, isn't it? Because the main character is an airplane called the White Feather Flyer.
That's right.
And the white feather is something so personal and interesting. Tell the audience.
Indeed. I'll try to be brief. I'll try to summarize. It's a tough one.
You only have a minute.
I only have a minute. Okay. Many months ago, Dad told me that if he was going to pass away, the way that he'd let me know that he was going to be all right, or that we were all going to be all right, would be in the form of a white feather. 20 years ago, I was on tour in Australia with Saltwater, #1 at the time, and I was approached by an Aboriginal tribe and news crews and people in a hotel, and so I went down to visit them, and the elder of the tribe, called the Mourning Tribe, was a woman, and she approached me with a male swan's white feather, which is about yay big, and said to me, "You have a voice. Can you help us?" So, you know, it was about, you know, do I remain a rock and roller or step up to the plate? So I spent 10 years making a documentary about them called The Whale Dreamers.
I mean, listen, you do it all. You're a rock and roller, you're a writer, you take care of the environment, you take care of people with lupus. It's extraordinary. And the fact that you're talking about writing an autobiography is fabulous. But I just wanted to say that you also dedicated this book
to Mum. To my mum, who taught me to fly without wings.
Yes. One of the great women on the planet. One of the great women on the planet. Jules, you have to come back more often. We don't see you enough.
I know, you know my
He's
wife...
busy, Whoopi.
I know, that's true. That's
well, I don't know about that, but I'm trying to do my best, you know.
We love you. Thanks for coming.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Touch the Earth is available today. And what you should know is that a portion of the proceeds will go to support the efforts of the White Feather Foundation. And you know what else? Oh, hell, come on. Y'all are going to get the book as well. That's what you need to know. We'll be right back.